But you only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. But you only need the light. Only know you've been high.
Hello everybody, good evening and welcome into DogZone on the week of the Golden Chase. The first time we see this going to the post at the Manawatu, and it's going to be an absolute ripper. We'll bring in Mark Rosanowski. Roso, you're going to be there on Friday, obviously calling most of the action. 4 two-dog match races on a one-bend circuit. It's going to be mouth-watering.
Yes, it certainly is, Andy. There's a lot of anticipation around this, or certainly for me. I mean, I suppose I feel it because I'm at Manawatu pretty much every Monday. We had a qualifying period of around 6 weeks, so there's been quite a build-up to this. And, you know, we started up with, 30-plus dogs, a couple more than we had for the amazing chase. And they're all North Island-based, but some visiting trainers made things very interesting. And although the Coles dominate with 4 runners and they've got 2 match races to themselves, Andy, there's anticipation around each match race and, of course, who's going to win overall. We've got a $5,000 bonus quaddie, races 5 through to 8, the 8th being the City of Palmerston North Golden Chase final for $28,000. And also there's $2,000 being put into the first 4 as well, because, Andy, like the amazing chase, Australia will not be betting into this, so it'll be non-commingled. So $2,000 into the first 4 will make that appealing. So we can bet into the race as a whole, 1 through 8, and of course the dogs will be listed from fastest through to slowest to determine their positions. We bet win, place, Quinella trifecta first 4 as per normal, and then we can bet on the match races as well. And frankly, I can't wait. They're going to be 5 minutes apart. It's going to be furious.
Here's a look at the overall market for the Golden Chase. Roso, Pinnimac comes up favourite, $2.70 is the quote around him, and with the times we know he can run with clear air, it's probably deservedly so.
Yes, although he's short enough, I think, Andy, and there might be some value in here around dogs like Ask King Jeff and Big Time Levi, who have drawn suitably to the outside in their match races and who should be suited to this match racing scenario and who are quite strong dogs. So, I think Pinnimac, yeah, favourite, I can accept that, but maybe Brendan Cole, who we've got to hear from as we go through this field, might be able to talk you into 1 or 2 of his at better value.
Match number 1 on the card will be Robson versus Fusion Cronella. Here's a look at those odds. And Roso, Fusion Cronella's come up favourite. I think there's a little bit of value around Robson at that 195.
Yes, I think so too. He's a Class 4 rated dog, of course, but he ran that 25.90 in the solo trial, and that was a significant improvement from the 26.20 that he'd recorded winning a race. Peter Ferguson nominated 4. I'm delighted that he's got 1 through because it's been a bit of a logistical nightmare getting his dogs there for trials and races, and he embraced the series and he's got 1 into the final, and that's an achievement in itself, and that's how Peter feels. But he looks like he's got a very real chance here. Let's have a look at that trial. It was the Wednesday meeting, the 13th of March, and he's come up with a 25.90, Andy, on a day where 25.87 was the time standard set by All About Space, beating Blaze and Carter. So it measures up pretty well. And because he's improved each time that he's been to Manawatu, 3 times now, and because of the very fast times he's been able to run at Cambridge, you just suspect he can improve again. Raced by Peter, of course, with Ian O'Neill, and I think they've got a very real chance. She's out of Scissor Queen, and of course Scissor Queen's the mother of Monster Fish, who almost certainly would have been favourite for the series had he not had a career-threatening injury. So the brood bitch still has a chance here. The other remarkable thing about Friday is that Peter Ferguson not only has a runner in the Golden Chase, but he will be driving at the harness meeting too, because of course it is dual code. I think Robson is a very real chance, and being in the first match race might actually just suit that dog too.
I think he's a real chance, no doubt about that. We've seen him put in some pretty quick opening splits at Cambridge and show some real early burn. I think now that he's had a couple of looks at Manawatu, we might see that from him, and he's a chance of burning to the lead early and leading this race all of the way. His contender, though, is the Angela Turnwald prepared Fusion Cronella. Roso, we know what she's capable of. She qualified with a 25.87 for it. She's got a really nice record around the one-turn circuit, and the outside draw will suit her as well.
Yes, and she did that in the solo trial, but she's a greyhound who has been a consistent performer over a long period of time at Manawatu, and she does have a faster time, 25.81, which was set in March of last year, so she's doing well to still be running similar times 12 months down the track. She was leading out in 9.23. It's her second sectional. She went through the second market in 18.04, and she's always been pretty good up the home straight, finding the line. I guess the one thing we'd say about her, Andy, and this is what Paul Freeman said to me at the track on Tuesday, was that what we saw in that solo trial is probably the best fusion Cronulla we can hope for. So she can replicate that, but she may not be able to do any better. We kind of get the feeling that Robson might be able to do better with the extra experience he's now got at the Manawatu, whereas with Fusion Cronulla in the solo trial, what we got, that's what she's got. So does that make her a winning contender? You'd kind of think maybe not. She'll be very competitive, Andy, but Robson gets a very real chance, I think, to beat her, and it's very hard to make a case for Fusion Cronulla being the winner overall.
Yeah, he gets the tick from me in that match to Matt head-to-head as well. There's no doubt about that. I think he can burn under her and be in front by the time they leave the back straight if he's not in front of box rise, and from there I think he'll just be a little bit too strong for her. Match race number 2, will be the first of 2 Cole head-to-heads that we will see on the day, and here's a look at the market for that. Blazing Carter versus Asking Jeff. Roso, Asking Jeff comes up 180. I believe this is the match race we separate our opinions, and we're going both of them. I'm going with Blazing Carter. I think you're with Jeff.
Yeah, to be fair, look at the market there. I mean, there's not much in it, so you can see why it could be flip of the coin scenario. And I must admit that up until I spoke to Brendan Cole, which we'll hear in just a moment, I was probably going to play against Asking Jeff because I haven't been that happy with his performances. But have a listen to what Brendan's got to say and make your own mind there. But Blazing Carter is a dog who finally posted that win in a 25.95. That wasn't his fastest time. He ran faster with an 89 when he was second to All About Space. And his lead-ups, Andy, he's around the sort of 9.11 to 9.18 mark. There is a $2,000 prize for the fastest opening sectional. Blazing Carter is definitely a player for that. And there is a $2,000 prize for the fastest closing sectional up the straight too. That won't be Blazing Carter.
Yeah, certainly won't be. I think Blazing Carter, 1 or 2 realistic chances here of grabbing that opening bonus. Roso did catch up with Brendan Cole yesterday at the Manawatu, and about Blazing Carter, he asked him that he'd be glad Blazing Carter drew inside.
Yeah, most definitely. It gives them every opportunity to put their best foot forward and stay away from each other.
And you must be delighted with the way that Blazing Carter's been going around here since he came back from Auckland?
Yeah, no, he's been going terrific. He's a front runner, obviously, and it's a more than capable dog, and yeah, he's doing everything right.
So that was Brendan Cole's thoughts around Blazing Carter. Roso, we know how quick this bloke is early. Like I said, I think he's one of 2 real contenders for this opening split bonus, and he should be in front of Jeff early. This is what he's capable of. He's off the green rug here. He burns to the top, and geez, a dog with real pace.
Yes, he is. And look, he's gone through in a 9.11 there, which is very, very quick. And, you know, he has some tenacity as well, and he's been 3rd in the New Zealand Cup. He ran 4th in the Auckland Cup 3 starts back. He's a big race player, this dog. And it's not like he's hopeless up the straight either. He's not. But there are other dogs here that are stronger. So he's going to have to do it early, and he has the capacity to do that off box number 1 here. It's really good for him that he's drawn that inside, especially up against Asking Jeff. So, yep, the market's quite close, Andy, and we have reversed who we think is going to win here, or we've split it. So, yeah, let the match racing begin. This is good stuff. And look, even in match races, box speed is gold.
Always is in greyhound racing. His contender is Asking Jeff. He is a strong greyhound. Roso, we know he is capable of coming over top of them late. What do we make of his recent form?
I thought it was fairly average. We'll hear from Brendan in a moment. I think that's the key stuff. He has been drawing close in, which is not suiting him. More and more, he just wants to drop back and get to the outside, and that's been awkward for him from the inside draws that he's had. I was disappointed in him not running in the money on Friday night at Hattrick. I mean, he was poised to do so on the corner, so that concerned me. Bottom line is, Andy, though, he is the fastest qualifier for this now. It was way back on February the 11th, which was the 2nd week of the qualifying period that went right through to March the 18th. But we haven't seen a lot of him at the Manawatu. And I think back to the Manawatu match racing, and yeah, he should be pretty fit with the racing he's had. But as I say, Andy, I think the key here is probably what Brendan Cole's about to tell us. And Brendan, relief for us, King Jeff being drawn to the outside, but I'd like your comment on his recent racing, because since he set the time standard for this series, has he been a little bit below par?
Yeah, but not on this track, Mark. He's not really a Wanganui track dog unless he gets drawn off the track. He's not even an Auckland track dog, but he really likes it here. And we've been a little bit soft on him, but he'll be ready to go on Friday.
Would he be your leading candidate then, seeing as he did set the fastest time?
Not necessarily. I got 4 good dogs there, mate, and given the right conditions and the right opportunity, I believe that there's probably very little between all of them, and they can all run sort of the 25/8s. I think Levi's gone a 75 in his earlier days, so no, I think there's not much between them, just different styles of racing between them.
So Jeff ran 4th on Friday night at Hattrick. Were you surprised he didn't run into the money there though?
I thought he was going to round off the race all right, but if you have a look, just as he comes to the point of the home turn, he gets pushed out a little bit wide by Cozzy Cooper. So, mate, that can be the dog. On his day, he can be brilliant, and on other days, he can be below par and not even try.
Sounds like you're reasonably confident about him come Friday, though, given the conditions of this particular race.
Yeah, I think so. This is his go. He loves this one-turn track. I think individual trialling, I think just with one dog, no interference. If he, gets a side of the lure and he gets a good drag in behind a dog like Blazing Carter. So you've got to remember when he ran that fast time, he was set up by Gary Fredrickson's dog and he got over top of it. So possibly the same scenario could happen.
That was Brendan's thoughts around Asking Jeff. I'm settling with Blazing Carter though. I think he can just set the pace off the inside and from there give Asking Jeff something to think about for a long way. But Roso, this is where our opinion does differ, and after that interview you're leaning the other way.
Yes, I am, Andy. I was happy to play against Asking Jeff until I spoke to Brendan. I think there's a couple of other points worth making. One is 25.78 he has done twice. He also recorded that time back in June, so it's not a flash in the pan from Asking Jeff. The other thing is, it's worth remembering, he was 4th in the Amazing Chase at Hattrick, and he's probably better suited at Manawatu. And the only other runner out of the Amazing Chase in the Golden Chase final is Penny Mack, who of course famously did the splits at the start at Hattrick. So I think another couple of key points for Asking Jeff.
Match race number 3 will be the second of the Cole head-to-heads, and this one we do see All About Space going against big time Levi. Levi's 150, All About Space 240, and Roso. Even with that time that All About Space put on the board 3 back, it just looks Levi's race with the outside draw.
Certainly playing that way. The thing about All About Space is that in the right conditions she can do some really good things, and back in December she ran 25.84, so she's run even faster than that 87, so again not a flash in the pan, Andy. And she did have a run on Monday at Hattrick where she got a bad trip into the first bend, and then she ran into further traffic problems after that, and that can happen to her, but it won't happen in this race because Levi will give her space and there's only 2 dogs, and she can go about doing what her nuggety little self does, Andy. So although I'm certainly in the camp of big time Levi and he's quite a strong favourite in this particular match race, it might not necessarily be that easy.
Let's head now to Brendan Cole and get his thoughts. Firstly, around if he's happy or not with the draw.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, she looks like she's been winning the rails since she's come back from her season, and she's about week 11 now out of the season, so she should be going forward. She showed glimpses of her old self, but she hasn't had a lot of the rub of the green lately, so nearly fell over on Monday going to the first corner, and yeah, she's a real good bitch, so she's definitely capable.
Certainly that win here that propelled her into the final must give you some confidence with her.
Yeah, definitely. She got a bit of space that day, and when she gets a bit of space, she can really rock it. So this one-on-one competition is, I believe, right up her alley.
That was Brendan's thoughts around All About Space. Let's have a look at her qualifying effort for this. She ran 25.87 on this occasion. Roso, this was a really super run. She's off the green rug, box number 6. She's back in the pack and she runs past some really, really nice dogs.
Yeah, exactly. That's Blazing Carter up front. He's giving him she is giving him lengths at the moment, and this is what she can pull out of the locker at times when things work out for her. Good run home here, 7.68, and she wasn't even in front. She ran faster than that. And we're talking about her leading here, and yet she's got the ability to come from the middle of a field and post a quick time that put her, fourth fastest equal. So this match race might be a wee bit closer than the market suggests. I just think Levi's been so consistent over such a long period of time that I'm leaning that way, but Space deserves to be there, and she could be the surprise packet if there is such a thing.
And her contender is Big Time Levi. He'll come up with the outside draw of the two of them, which suits him down to the ground. 25.89 his qualifying time for this, Roso. And of the 8 greyhounds, the head-to-head, probably suits him best.
You would certainly think so, and what I like about him is the form that he's in at the moment, and he's been a grand performer for a long period of time. His best win was Group 2 when he beat Big Time Paddy back in June, and that was his 25.75. But Andy, I have a list that is too long to mention of performances from Levi over many, many months where he's run in and around the high 70s, early 80s, high 80s, sub 25.90. He's been consistent for a long period of time. He's in form, and he looks like this match race series should suit.
Let's head to Brendan Cole and see what he thinks. The first question we threw at him is that he seems to be in good form leading into it.
Yeah, he's been a good campaigner, mate. He's been up for forever. He's not going to get interfered with by her, and he's going to be left to run 1 or 2 off like he likes to run off, and it's up to him whether he can post a fast enough time to be competitive, but I believe he can be. But still got to do everything right. But if they just repeat it like Big Time Paddy did in the New Zealand final, be all go.
So that was Brendan's thoughts there around Big Time Levi. We'll have a look now at his qualifying effort for this. You're looking for the dog in the gold rug of box number 5. Roso, this is what we've come to expect from Levi. He gets back a little bit. He's got a big, strong finish on him, and with no trouble in a 2-dog race, he should be pretty hard to beat.
Yes, he was only the 6th equal qualifier, but of course it was pretty tight top to bottom, 25.78 through to 25.90, and of course the second fastest was 25.83, and as we see there, he's generally in traffic when he's posting these really good times overall. And here he's just going to mind his own business the outside. You can see he's getting leaned on there, and so it kind of dictates where he goes. He decides to go to the inside, but of course he is more comfortable coming away from the rail too. I have to go with him. He's a pronounced favourite here. Have made a case for All About Space, making this very, very interesting though, Andy. And I think this is an intriguing match race. I think it's possibly closer than the market would determine, but I actually think not only can Big Time Levi win the race, but he could even go close to winning the entire Golden Chase.
I've got him on top as well for the match race. I think he's a real contender in this series. Match racing around Manawatu on a 1-turn track, certainly right up his alley, and I think he'll be too good in the match race. So I do concur with your thoughts around All About Space though, Roso, but I think Big Time Levi will be too strong. The 4th and final match race, we will see the Fredrickson prepared Big League Diva going head-to-head with Penny Mac, and Roso, Penny Mac comes up as the shortest favourite in the 4 match races. He's the favourite for the entire series, and he looks like he should be too big and strong for her.
Yeah, you'd think so. Look, Gary and Sandra Fredrickson have not had the ideal preparation, unfortunately, with Big League Diva, and she set up that searing pace in the race that Ask King Jeff won on February the 11th, and she was second fastest equal with 25.83, and her lead up that day was 9.08, which is one of the fastest lead ups ever there, Andy. But unfortunately they had to scratch her soon after that, and Gary was telling me that at one point they were probably looking at her being 50-50 to make the final, but she has come on in the last couple of weeks. She's had a couple of sprint trials. She hasn't trialled particularly fast, but then the track hasn't been running that fast when she has been trialling. He is concerned about the concluding stages for her, but look at her early speed there. Andy, which obviously is the key, and it makes her a chance, a very good chance, for the $2,000 fastest opening sectional, because she's had a 9:08, 9:16, 9:26 sort of the last 3 times she's been to the races. She's not the strongest anyway, and because she hasn't had the ideal preparation, she's going to be quite vulnerable in the straight. Very hard to see her therefore winning overall. But she's won in a 25.95 and a 25.97 down in the grades, and she's consistently off the boxes. And of course, Penny Mac hasn't been jumping all that well, so we can see her leading. She's not a rail painter, Andy, and Penny Mac might have to work to get around her potentially, which might be a wee bit of an issue for the overall favourite. Terrific to have her in there. Gary and Sandra, owner Vaughan Clark, just fizzing to have her in there and delighted. But they would have liked, obviously, a smoother preparation over the last fortnight.
I think she is one of 2 real contenders for that opening split bonus, along with Blazing Carter. I think one of those 2 should be winning that. Her contender, Penny Mac, he'll come up with the outside draw of the 2 of them. He was really nice in his qualifying trial for this, 25 and 83. Roso, as I said in the start of the show, we know what this bloke's capable of running. The 2-dog match race seems right up his alley at the moment, and it would appear that he should get the better of her on the home turn.
Yes, well, that's the hope. She might swing out a spot or 2, which might make him work a wee bit harder. But look, he visibly dipped on the mat again there, Andy. And in the solo trial, the heat was on him because he was outside the 8, and he went through in a 9:32. This was after Fusion Cronulla had led up about a 1/10 of a second faster. By the time he got to the second split here at the top of the straight, he was 18:04, the same as Fusion Cronulla. Now, Fusion Cronulla is a greyhound who runs through the line quite nicely. Penny Mac, when he first came here and he won the Waterloo Cup last year, it was like, okay, he's sort of a blow and go dog, but he's kind of reverted to a dog who's not getting out particularly well, but he has some tenacity. He battled back into the Auckland Cup and ran 3rd there. Everything he's been set for, he's at least made the final for, Andy, even if he hasn't quite delivered on the night because he hasn't got out that well. Like he ran 6th in the New Zealand Cup, for example. He made the amazing chase final, did the splits at the start. And there on the mat again, look, it's a concern for Steve Clark. But look, he said the dog is well, he's happy. He doesn't mind the dog being in the 4th match up there. He doesn't think that'll necessarily be a problem for him. And Gary Fredrickson said it won't be a problem for Big League Diva because she is a bit of a professional. So, yeah, and who knows? The track's getting groomed between every race, Andy, and the dogs who aren't in a particular match race that's on the track, they'll be over in the harness stabling area with security and a stipendiary steward. So, look, those dogs at the end, are they going to get an advantage? Is it going to be a disadvantage? They're the variables that are very hard to determine, but both trainers happy enough to be in that last match race with their respective dogs.
He certainly comes up with a good chance in the series, does Penny Mac, as long as we don't DogZone him, which I think is about to happen. I've got him on top. I think he'll be winning this last heat, and I think he will be too strong for Big League Diva up the home straight. Roso, in terms of the overall series, 4 numbers, we still need to be tipping, or trying to tip trifectas and first 4s, etc., especially with that bonus you did allude to. So, who do we put on top?
Steve, I won't say he begged me not to put Penny Mac on top, but there was a suggestion, could you not put him on top, Roso? But I'm going to stay with him, and I do need to determine the fact that I did have him on top in the Waterloo Cup, even though I wasn't working at that particular meeting or that week. I'm going with Penny Mac on top, and I'd love to see him win this, but look, I'll be delighted if any of the connections won this, and I think it's been a terrific series. Big Time Levi and Asking Jeff, I think, look really well suited, and I think both are in contention for the strongest closing sectional. And then I'll put in Robson for 4th, which means I've gone with the 4 that I've chosen on top, Andy. And of course, that's not necessarily the way it could work. Let's say, for example, Big Time Levi's the fastest time. Well, All About Space may well be the 2nd fastest time and come in 2nd. But I have gone with my 4 winners there and put them in that order. How about you?
I've done exactly the same, 8, 6, 1 and 3 for me with Penny Mac on top. I think he looks the hardest to beat. Levi comes into contention for mine. I think he's capable of putting a time on the board. I think we'll see the real Robson turn up now that he's had a couple of looks at Manawatu, and if he can replicate what he's been able to achieve time-wise around Cambridge, he's a realistic winning chance, and Blazing Carter to lead them all of the way in his match race. So 8, 6, 1 and 3 for me. What else has been happening in the week? We've got a really nice New Zealand racing racing series final going to the post on Thursday. There were 2 heats for this that were held last week at Addington Raceway, the 2 winners being Mr. Matt and Airwell Turbo. Roso, some really nice runs in it though. Airwell Turbo missed away, which is uncharacteristic for him, and he won from behind, and also nice runs from Gold Star Ashton as well as Mr. Matt.
Yeah, an eye-catcher, wasn't it? Gold Star Ashton getting home strongly behind Mr. Matt. Look, Mr. Matt saved my blushes in the tipping stakes last week by winning, but $1.60. Couldn't get too excited about that. He was third early, came off the rail. He finished them off, but Gold Star Ashton was a bit of an eye-catcher there. In terms of a market, he's at $2.70, and I'm happy to put him on top. Double Speed looks a player drawn closer in, Andy. $3.50. The market reflects that too. Airwell Turbo at $3.60. So is there value, do you think, around Gold Star Ashton, or do we play top 3 on number 6 there?
I think there's real value around Gold Star Ashton, just for the fact dogs like Double Speed and Airwell Turbo, they'd probably need to be in front to be winning the final. And Mr. Matt, although he was able to win his heat, he's still not racing at 100% for mine. So I think there's a little bit of each way value there around Ashton as well. He's going to be good place money, so I think we can play that. Well, the DogZone dogs to follow. I wasn't able to get a winner home last week, which was unfortunate. I tipped out 2, and they both ran home into second, Avenger Bale and Sausage. Roso, you got one home though. Mr. Matt will take the $1.50 with him being the only winner of the week.
At least you beat me home with Avenger Bale. Ringside was 5th in that race. Gee, that was a messy race, wasn't it? Terrible, really, but really nice field with Dinah Dave, Avenger Bale, Carltonian and Ringside at Addington on Thursday at 6:38. Right, going to go some selections this week, Andy, and I'll concentrate on the 8-race card for the Golden Chase. First at 3:49, Golden Chase Match Race 1 at 6:43, then at 5-minute intervals until 6:58. Grading special is Mila, a dog that actually won the Bitches feature on the card last year, but downgrades to Class 3, having run second Class 4 behind Big Time Jetty on Monday. Awesome quality, Andy. You'd say, what are you tipping out something as short as that? Big Time Rocco's in that race. Big Time Alfie. It's quite a nice field. Awesome quality might be okay. Diddley's first ballot for the Golden Chase final, and he's a dual Group 1 winner, and look, he's not hopeless at Manawatu, far from it actually, and I think he could win that consolation. It's a $10,000 consolation too that's worth chasing, and I thought I'd better throw Pity Mac in there as well just to finish Steve Clark off, and I don't want to. Just hope to be shaking his hand for something after the last on Friday.
We've been in touch with Philippa Morris. Of course, she is the 3rd member of the DogZone team, and she's forwarded through some selections for this following week. The downgraded dog at Addington on Thursday, meeting 9. Race number 1, it is the 3-dog Ahoka Clear, and well boxed up in the last on the same card as the 2 Smash Damage. And then we'll go to Manawatu on Friday for Philippa as well, with Diddley returning home, and he comes up with box number 4. In terms of mine, I'm just keeping it nice and simple again with 2 of them. Although it's not a drop-in class, it's certainly a class drop for Gold Star Sydney, who latest races against Dinah Dave and Weslin. So she just looks hard to beat for mine, and Mr. Consistent and Ginger Mongo there. And not only is he Mr. Consistent, but Corey Steele tipped him last week, and he's always a week too early. So he looks really, really hard to beat as well. Roso, that's about all we have time for here on the show. Really looking forward to Friday evening. It's going to be a dead set boomer of a night.
Dual Code, of course, you'll be there. Craig the Whale Thompson will be there. Andre Neil will be there on course. Steve Davis will be there on course. I'll be sharing the commentating duties. Brian Martin will be back in the commentary box for the first 2 races on the card, and he will call the 2 middle match races as well. And my father, Peter Rosanowski, comes out of retirement as judge as well, and boy, there's going to be a stack happening. I hope people can get down if they're in the area, and if not, watch on the telly, particularly that match racing series from 6:43.
Well, that's it from us here at DogZone. We'll be back next week with the wash-up of the Golden Chase, as well as other action from around the country. But until then, happy punting.